Good evening, friends. Welcome once again to another Souther virtual meeting. Last time we had taken a session about domestic violence act, and there were a lot of queries which were related to shared household as well as right of residence. People have been asking that we should have a session specifically for this. So coming Thursday, we are going to have a session about shared household and right of residence. If you have any queries pertaining to these, you can join that session or you can send the queries over WhatsApp. We'll try to take queries over WhatsApp as well in the next session. आज के सवाल जो हैं वर्चुअल मीटिंग में जो आए हैं उनसे शुरू करते हैं। पहला सवाल हरिहर शर्मा जी का है। हरिहर शर्मा जी का सवाल है, इनकम एफिडेविट में पत्नी के खिलाफ डीवी में 340 और 91 की अर्जी दाखिल की है जिसको 1.5 साल बीत गया है। 340 की अर्जी मेन पिटीशन के साथ अटैच हो गई। सीआरपीसी 91 की अर्जी कब डिसाइड होगी, केस खत्म होने के बाद या पहले? तो मित्र, दोनों जो आपकी एप्लीकेशन है, दोनों अर्जियां जो हैं ये इंटरिम एप्लीकेशंस हैं और इनका डिसीजन मेन केस के खत्म होने से पहले ही होगा। मेरे ख्याल से सीआरपीसी 91 की जो एप्लीकेशन है वो, मेरा ऐसा मानना है, शायद इसलिए लगाई गई है क्योंकि आपको कुछ इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए जो 340 डिसाइड करने में कोर्ट को सहायक होगी। ऐसी स्थिति में भी 391 की एप्लीकेशन, सीआरपीसी 91 की एप्लीकेशन अभी डिसाइड करने की कोर्ट को कोई जल्दी नहीं होगी। अगर आपकी एप्लीकेशन इसलिए लगी हैं कि उसने इनकम एफिडेविट पे झूठ बोला है और आप चाहते हैं कि उसकी सैलरी स्टेटमेंट या कोई ऐसा डॉक्यूमेंट रिकॉर्ड पर आ जाए जिससे उसकी इनकम पता चलती है, तो आपको पुश करना चाहिए कि सीआरपीसी 91 की एप्लीकेशन कोर्ट पहले डिसाइड करे। अगर कोर्ट डिसाइड नहीं कर रहा है, आपको उसके लिए रिक्वेस्ट करनी चाहिए और अगर ज़रूरी हो तो इसको चैलेंज भी करना चाहिए कि हमने ये पिटीशन लगाई थी और इसको पहले डिसाइड करना चाहिए। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज फ्रॉम परवीन शेवारे and the question is, sir, my case is that I have filed petition under Guardian and Ward Act. During pendency of the petition, my daughter informed me that her mother was going to withdraw her admission from school, so I immediately moved an application for directing the respondent not to remove her admission from school, but advocate tactfully adjourned the matter and judgment was being allowed by family court. In meanwhile, respondent removed her admission from school and removed the jurisdiction of family court, even though matter was sub judice before court and admitted her to another city. Even minor herself wrote written to the court not to remove my admission, but family court did not take any cognizance. The letter is written by minor still on record and judge dismissed my petition on the grounds of jurisdiction being ground of jurisdiction. I challenge the order and HC after a lapse of 5 years set aside order passed by family court with the direction and restored the petition. Now the interim application also restored. So I prayed just to direct the respondent to readmit the daughter in the same previous school. It was her duty to readmit her because she cannot be beneficial to her own wrong, and also compensated the minor as she suffered educational loss due to the respondent which cannot be compensated in terms of money. So kindly suggest what to do. Okay, Praveen ji, I understand now you had asked this question in the past also. I was not clear about your situation. What you are essentially asking is that though High Court has asked the court to decide the application once again, you now want compensation, the child to be readmitted to this school, the same school she was studying in, and also want compensation for the child losing on education. I believe that 5 years is a long time, it will be very difficult to get the child admitted to the same school from which she was withdrawn. However, the conduct of the respondent would definitely be seen by the court. I understand that a lot of time has passed and it may be very difficult for you or for the child to readjust to new realities. But there is something which is called infructuous. Infructuous means that an event has occurred and the application which is pending cannot be decided because the time cannot be, the clock cannot be turned back. So I believe that this application is kind of infructuous because it has already been 5.5 years and the child by now would have adjusted to new realities. If you want the child to be readmitted to this particular school from where she was removed, it will be another uprooting for the child. Yes, it may be beneficial for you or your case. You may get the custody of child also on this ground. However, readmission solely because your application was not decided and the lady played a play or her advocate played some game uh, is not going to help the child. In the child custody application, everything has to be seen from the welfare of the child. The conduct of the respondent is such that she has acted against the interest of the children, of that minor child. So you should harp upon it, and now you should ask the court to decide the child custody application within a stipulated time. Say 6 months, you should have applied in the High Court itself because 5 years is a long time. The court should decide this application ASAP, and that is the only thing which you can ask right now. I am very sorry for your loss, but I doubt anything can be done at this stage. There is a question from Sachindra Rao, Sachindra De, sorry, and the question is, and asked for reconciliation when I refused such thing. FIR on me filed. I believe there was a part of that question which is not there. So I'm sorry. We'll take this question when you write the facts again. Rajesh has a question, and the question is in 498A. The statement of the father-in-law says, "My father asked dowry of 10 lakh cash, 500 gram gold, site, and car, but he accepted for 10 lakhs, 300 gram gold. That time I spoke of remaining of 200 gram gold, site, and car may be given after the marriage. Then my father-in-law accepted by telling it is proud to get married my daughter to central government son-in-law. No proof has been submitted by him in this case. Whether it is called as dowry since he is telling it is proudly accepted, since he is giving a fake statement of dowry giving 1 week before to marriage by going to my house along with one person. Now that accompanied person given as a statement in this court will accept his simple statement, or what will have to prove the case that it is false. Rajesh, you have still time to cross-examine both these gentlemen, uh, and you can bring contradictions on record. I'm sure the statement would be a long one. It may not be only this para in the statement of the father-in-law. If you can bring contradictions, then of course the court will disregard this statement. If you cannot bring enough contradictions on record in cross-examination, the court will accept this statement. Now, how does accepting this statement affects your case? First of all, in 498A, exchange of dowry is not a crime. That is a crime in Dowry Prohibition Act. In 498A, the crime is harassment of the woman for dowry. This only this statement only proves one thing, that there was an agreement for dowry, and he had not fulfilled his part of promise. Though as accused you will definitely state that it is wrong, there was no agreement. However, even if his statement is taken to be true, the next part of the case is that there was a harassment for dowry. That still needs to be proved. This statement does not prove that. So please focus on other aspects of the case as well. This is an important point. Maybe you have already cross-examined him, because it is not clear whether you have cross-examined him or not. If you have already cross-examined him, but the other person's cross-examination is pending, work on the cross-examination to bring about enough contradictions. Else, concentrate on the other aspects of the case, which is how to disprove any harassment. How to disprove by bringing either enough contradictions, or bring, if the case is being proved, then bringing your part of the evidence by bringing certain people whom they allege would be present from your side when this dowry was exchanged or when this promise was made, bringing those people on board, making them stand in the witness box. So this is something which needs to be done. Now this matter is very highly technical at this point of time, at this particular juncture, and somebody has to scrutinize the statement word by word for making effective cross examination questions, and only then you can probably succeed in this particular matter. हरिहर शर्मा जी का पहले वाले का इस सवाल का एक हिस्सा ये भी है कि जज साहब बोल रहे हैं सीआरपीसी 340 की अर्जी एविडेंस के बाद और केस के फाइनल होने पर डिसाइड की जाएगी, तब तक क्या सीआरपीसी 91 की एप्लीकेशन भी पेंडिंग रहेगी? मैंने इस बात का जवाब दे दिया है कि अगर सीआरपीसी 91 की एप्लीकेशन का संबंध 340 से है तो वो बाद में ही डिसाइड होगी, अगर उसका संबंध मेन केस से अदरवाइज है तो वो पहले डिसाइड होगी। नाउ Nucleus Paul, there is a person with the screen name Nucleus Paul, and the question is, sir, allegations differ from one another in 498 DV and divorce filed by OP. What benefit should I get in my DV? So if the allegations are different in all three cases and there are material contradictions, you can confront the witnesses on these contradictions, number one. Number two, you can impress upon the court in your WS itself that these are mere allegations leveled without any thought, as they found that it will help this cause, they have leveled this allegation. In some other case, they found that this allegation may help their cause, there they have leveled those allegations, and this, they are a bunch of lawyers, and this complainant cannot be trusted, and therefore this petition should be dismissed. Our court is not going to do that, please understand. You can still urge the court that this petition should be dismissed with heavy cost. Of course, the court will still ask you to lead the evidence, but this kind of thing which the opposite party has done, it will definitely, it can prejudice the court against them. So you should definitely go very heavily by attaching your other petitions if they are material contradictions. Rajesh Tank has a question. Is there any way to stop the transfer of petition of divorce from West Bengal to MP? A 4-year-old child is with wife in MP. I already got bail in 498A, 406, 323. I filed DV petition few days before she filed cases. I filed divorce petition few days before she filed cases. Rajesh ji, in your set of circumstances, I doubt that there is any way of you stopping the case transfer from West Bengal to MP. My suggestion at multiple times varies with what find preference by a lot of activists and other lawyers. I always say that if you want any relief and you want the relief fast, you should file petition in the jurisdiction from where it cannot be transferred. You have filed a petition sometime back, it is still waiting for transfer, it will be transferred, then the case file will be transferred to that particular court. There is a lot of time which has passed. You have paid fee at three junctures. You paid fee at your local place, then you will again pay fee to the court where the transfer petition has been made, then you will again pay fee to the place, to another lawyer, to the place where the case is transferred. So you have wasted fee thrice and a lot of time. In divorce case, again, there is a chance that the case may or may not get transferred. I have seen that people file child custody case in the city where they are residing and wait for years, many years, to even see the child. Always try to file cases from where it cannot be transferred. It will save you time, money, and effort. All three things will be saved. It will save you a lot of anxiety, unnecessary cases. So you are fighting these two cases, this transfer petition unnecessarily. In your set of circumstances, with a 4-year-old child, nobody is going to ask the woman to travel. More so if the child gets admitted to a city where she is residing. No court is going to ask the lady to travel, leaving the child behind. So my advice is that you accept this transfer, and to other people who are listening to this particular broadcast or may listen to it in future, for me, right jurisdiction is from where the case cannot be transferred, because I'll advise filing case only and only when you want a relief. Never file a case just to harass the other party. Never ever file a case to harass other party, because chances are you can be harassed much more than the other party. A male can be harassed much more. So whenever you are filing a case, make sure that you file a case just to seek a relief and a faster relief. So for faster relief, you should file case in appropriate jurisdiction from where the transfer is very difficult or impossible. I know that it will not find favor with a lot of activists, because people want to harass the other party. They don't think in terms of time. There are a lot of people who say that if the lady has to go to Supreme Court or High Court, she'll also have to spend money and time, but they don't see their own loss also will happen in this particular thing. And again, there are a lot of people who say that divorce case should not be filed by the husband at all. So I don't agree to any such blanket statements. Amit M has a question, and the question is: my wife is demanding shelter and maintenance from me. So can I sell my house and buy another house in my sister's name from the money before my wife files a DV case? Also, if I stay in the same house on rent, which was actually gifted to my sister by me, then can I show a rent agreement in court that I am staying on rent to reduce the maintenance in DV filed by wife? Amit, I believe the court will be able to see through what you are trying to do here. You are trying to gift the same house and stay on rent in the same house. I doubt that any court will find that palatable. If you want to sell the house, you can sell the house, but don't stay in that house on rent. Another aspect which you will have to face, because with the Rajneesh versus Neha judgment, you will have to give a statement of your accounts. If the value of the house is much more than the circle rate, because most of the country now has circle rate, then probably it makes some sense to sell the house. Otherwise it does not make any sense in selling this house and paying stamp duty on this for transfer, because you are spending a lot of money there as well. But again, if your circumstances, as I said, allow you to sell this house and live in on rent at some other place, do that. I'll be strongly against you selling this house to your sister or gifting this house to your sister and staying in the same house on rent. No judge is going to believe it, no magistrate is going to believe it. Please don't do such acts which will show you in bad light. The court will think that you are not coming to court with clean hands and you are trying to play games with the court. Don't ever try to do that. रोहित गोस्वामी जी हैज अ क्वेश्चन एंड द क्वेश्चन है, शोनी जी, डीवी के अंदर जो डीआई रिपोर्ट दर्ज की जाती है वो किस बेस पर पीओ उसे बनाता है और दाखिल करता है, और आरटीआई के लगाने पर यह विदित होता है कि उसमें कोई जांच नहीं हुई, उसका क्या करें और कैसे फायदा लें? तो रोहित गोस्वामी जी, आपने डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट अगर पढ़ा हो तो उसके अंदर एक फॉर्म है जिसको डीआईआर रिपोर्ट कहा जाता है। उसके अंदर साफ लिखा हुआ है, डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस एक्ट के अंदर साफ लिखा हुआ है कि यह रिपोर्ट जो लड़की का बयान है उसके बेसिस पर बयान है, उसके बेसिस पर प्रोटेक्शन ऑफिसर को भरनी है, और वो जांच करे या ना करे यह अधिकार भी प्रोटेक्शन ऑफिसर को दिया गया है। इसके ऊपर आरटीआई अगर आप लगाते हैं कि उसने कोई जांच नहीं की है तो उसको जांच करना कोई अनिवार्य नहीं था। इस बात को आप समझिए, कोई अनिवार्य नहीं था, एक्ट के द्वारा उसके ऊपर कोई बंदिश नहीं थी कि वो जांच करे और रिपोर्ट बनाए। प्रोटेक्शन ऑफिसर को यह कहा गया कि भैया जो लड़की ने कहा उसको रिड्यूस टू राइटिंग करो, ये फॉर्म है, इस फॉर्म में भरो उसको, और उसने वो किया और कोर्ट में लगा दी। क्या उसने लिखा कि मैंने जांच में ये चीजें सत्य पाई? उसने ऐसा नहीं लिखा। उसने कहा कि मैंने प्रोटेक्शन ऑफिसर के नाते ये रिपोर्ट तैयार की है जो मुझे इस लड़की ने बताया और मैंने ये फाइल कर दी है। इसमें आप उसके खिलाफ कि उसने जांच नहीं की इस ग्राउंड पर रिट लगाएं, एप्लीकेशन लगाएं, इसका कोई फायदा होने वाला नहीं है। कई बार हम कुछ काम इसलिए करना चाहते हैं कि हम ये समझते हैं क्या हम कुछ कर नहीं पाएंगे, और हम बहुत सारे ऐसे एक्ट करते हैं जिनका कोई फायदा नहीं होता है, उससे हम और हताश हो जाते हैं। मैं मानता हूं कि एक्ट जो है एक तरफा है, अगर उसमें कोई रास्ता नहीं है इस तरह से बचने का और फाइट करना ही एकमात्र उसका तरीका है उससे निकलने का, तो फाइट करेंगे और फाइट कर कर सामने वाले को रिलीफ डिनाई करेंगे। अगर हम ये कर सकते हैं तो यही करेंगे, इससे ज़्यादा कि हम ना तो कोशिश करेंगे ना कोई फालतू के एक्ट्स करेंगे जिसका कोई फायदा होने वाला हमें। मेरा ये मानना है, मैं अपना टाइम, अपना पैसा, अपनी एंजाइटी, अपने थॉट्स सिर्फ और सिर्फ उन एक्शंस पर खर्च करता हूँ जिससे मुझे कोई रिलीफ मिले। अगर मुझे कोई रिलीफ नहीं मिल रहा है, केस डिले हो रहा है, तो डिले का मुझे कोई फायदा नहीं, अनलेस कोई लड़की ही ऐसी स्थिति में है कि 2 महीने के डिले में ही उसके हथियार डल जाएंगे क्योंकि उसके पास 2 महीने का खाने का पैसा भी नहीं है। अगर ऐसी कोई स्थिति है तो बिल्कुल चैलेंज कर लो थोड़े पैसे लगाकर, अगर उसके परिवार की आर्थिक स्थिति इतनी खराब है। अदरवाइज कोई फायदा नहीं है, क्योंकि आपको मेंटेनेंस देनी पड़ेगी हमेशा फ्रॉम डेट ऑफ फाइलिंग। अगर ये रिपोर्ट ठीक भी हो जाती है, उसमें कोई करेक्शंस भी हो जाते हैं, तो भी मेंटेनेंस जो है, अंतरिम गुजारा भत्ता अलग चीज़ों पर तय होता है। डीआई रिपोर्ट एकमात्र उसमें तय करने का जरिया नहीं है। आपको एक इनकम एफिडेविट और लड़की को एक इनकम एफिडेविट फाइल करना पड़ेगा, उसके बेसिस पर कोर्ट डिसाइड करेगा कि अंतरिम गुजारा भत्ता क्या होना चाहिए। सैफ अहमद जी का सवाल है अमित के कुछ और सवाल थे, वो अब शायद निकल गए हैं, तो मैं उनको अगली बार लूंगा, या अमित जी अगली बार वो सवाल पूछ लीजिएगा। सैफ अहमद जी का सवाल है, सर एफआईआर एंड स्टेटमेंट गिवन बाय विक्टिम इन 161 सीआरपीसी इज टोटली कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी इन 498 ए केस। इसके बाद कोई इनका सवाल नहीं है। तो सैफ जी, अगर इसमें कॉन्ट्राडिक्शन है तो डेफिनेटली फायदा आपको मिलेगा, आपको क्रॉस के समय इसका बेनिफिट जरूर मिलेगा। There is a question from a person having a screen name PADI Shiva Kumar. So Tadi Shiva Kumar has a question: when we have to take action against the person who is falsely corroborated against the respondents in 498A, what is the procedure? So I believe you are stating that there are witnesses who have helped the complainant file a false case. So whatever action you want, you can take against the complainant, you can take against these witnesses also. If they have lied and their lies, you have some evidence that they are lying under oath, you can bring a case of perjury against them as well as you can bring against the complainant. There is a person who has a screen name important Q. The question is seeking set of order judgment about quash of 498 and domestic violence. As High Court had said in a stay order that false and malicious FIR in 498 has been launched. Please guide in detail as in 498A. Wife has filed it after leaving me for 2.5 years. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand your question. Is the question that a High Court has already mentioned in the stay order that the case is false and malicious? If it is so, you probably don't need any court order. I am sure the order would have been probably in the order, as per my understanding, would have been that the petitioner has urged or prayed that as the case is false and malicious, that is why it should be quashed. If the case has been filed after 2.5 years, it is still maintainable, and I have not seen any judgment in which any High Court or Supreme Court has quashed the case based on a delay of 2.5 years in filing a case. I have a good collection of quash judgments which is posted on my website www.shonikapoor.com. There is a section of judgments where I have collected and put as per my understanding the crux of the judgments also. Please go through them and seek judgments which are the facts of which are similar to your case, which may help your case. Take the copies from the court library and use them in your case, is all I can help you. But this is the ground that the case has been filed after 2.5 years is not going to find favor with the High Court, any High Court for that matter, specifically because the Limitation Act itself says that it can be filed up to 3 years. So we are nearing the end. So I'll take the last question quickly. And the correct question, next question I am taking is from Gaurav Jain, and the question is, what is the correct time to file defamation case against OP? Can those still accused in charge sheet should file defamation, or only the ones who have excluded in charge sheet? So Gaurav, there is no right or wrong time in filing domestic defamation case. Defamation case can be filed only if there is enough defamation. If there is any defamation which has happened to any of the persons, if the defamation happened and you have sufficient proof that the allegations are false, even the accused can file a defamation case. Merely because somebody has been excluded from charge sheet is not a ground for filing defamation. Defamation has to be proved beyond the complaint to get any compensation or to get the defamer punished, the person who defamed you punished. So based on this, you should understand your case and decide who can give a notice and who should file a defamation suit against your better half. So friends, we are nearing the end of today's session. As I have already informed you, on Thursday we'll have a session wherein we'll take questions specific to shared household or right of residence. So please keep your questions related to all other topics pending for Saturday. Come back here on Thursday with the questions related to the topic which I have already said. If any of you want to join our WhatsApp or Telegram groups, you can send a subscribe message to 98118 50498. Thank you very much.